YouTube, long time no see. Here's a book review. So I read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and spoiler alert, I liked it and have some criticism, and other spoiler alert, there will probably be some spoilers in here, but I don't know because I'm not a time traveler and I'm not editing. So let's get into it. I picked this book up in Germany because I had a 36-hour stretch of travel featuring, yes, planes, trains, and automobiles. Also, there was a bus. My criteria in looking for a book was that it needed to be in English and it needed to be long. I found a German bookstore with a little English language section and looked for the thickest book I could find. Name of the Wind is 662 pages, so it was a fantastic fit for such a long journey. It's possible part of the reason I like this book is because I found the main character's frequent aches and pains incredibly relatable while flying economy for 11 straight hours, but I think it was also just a good book. Anyway, quick synopsis. This novel is the first in a high fantasy series called The Kingkiller Chronicles, and it has two different timelines going on, with the majority of the novel being Kvothe, the protagonist, telling his life story. Kvothe is some sort of legend in this world, but at the start of the novel, he's in hiding until this writer tracks him down, and now he's telling the story under the condition that this guy writes it down word for word. So this is the first thing you need to go both. He is so willful and stubborn and sassy. This boy has no chill. He somehow combines Gryffindor heroic pompous recklessness with Slytherin revenge and cunning and an absolutely incredible amount of self-preservation. Like, he makes sure he gets whatever he sets his mind to at any cost, but at least half the time the cost is that he has just screwed over his future self, who will then need to claw his way tooth and nail out of danger once again. He just keeps kicking death further down the road. Like, this fool, I kid you not, has a public whipping, and what does he do? He secretly takes some painkillers, good idea, and then insists on being whipped with his shirt off, even though he doesn't have to, because I swear to God, and I quote, "I needed to let them know they couldn't hurt me. I've learned the best way to stay safe is to make your enemies think that you can't be hurt." But really, he just had no money for another shirt and didn't want that one ruined. Like, who even is this ridiculous child? Also, please, someone just give this poor kid a home and some food and some clothes. That's all I'm asking. Anyway, I'm kind of a sucker for fantasy novels, and while straight white boy orphan protagonists are totally overdone at this point, I still had fun. The world building and the mechanics of the magic were really interesting, and I now just want to go to the university and figure out how all this stuff works. And maybe also buy both some new clothes and maybe some medical care, although honestly this world sounds really awful for everyone except the wealthy, so never mind. Good luck, Kvothe. The one thing that I think this book really didn't do well, though, is its treatment of women. In a world jam-packed with characters, there really aren't many women at all, and those it does have don't really have arcs or stories of their own. The biggest female character is Kvothe's love interest, and she mostly just exists to be his love interest. There are a couple moments where 15-year-old Kvothe considers things like, hey, we're both poor, orphans, but our society limits her options, so she has to rely on attractiveness and sexuality to survive. And despite his recklessness and other things, he seems to try to respect her autonomy and be careful and all that stuff. And compared to the other men in the story, you'd think he's a feminist, basically. But it's a really low bar, and there's a lot of white knighting from both. To me, if you're going to write a world with all of these oppressive structures in it, where women have dramatically limited social mobility and survival options, first of all, why? Why do we need to see this? What purpose does it serve? If the only reason for throwing deeply ingrained sexism into your world building is atmosphere, you probably shouldn't do it. It turns other people's suffering that already exists in our world, into just entertainment. Which isn't to say writers should only ever write worlds with no sexism. That would be ridiculous and counterproductive. Include sexism. It's real. There are a lot of stories to tell about it and how characters relate to and interact with these systems. But if you're going to create a world like that, address it. Subvert it. I feel like Rothfuss tried to do this and fell pretty short. Kvothe does have a platonic female friend, for example, but the relationship is underdeveloped, and she primarily exists to break him into the archives, which he mostly does himself anyway. That, and to show off what a good person he is because he brings her food, which, you know, cool, but she barely has any character development despite being one of his very small circle of friends. Just with this one relationship, there are a lot of ways to fix this. For example, have her save him. Part of the overall story is that Kvothe's reputation is often born of exaggerated rumors. When he's attacked and cornered by Ambrose's thugs, for example, he could have been near an entrance to the Underthing where his friend lives. Instead of Kvothe saving himself and scaring off the thugs with a scrappy bit of magic and theater, she could have slipped him into the Underthing and did a bit of magic to make it look like he, say, burst into flames and vanished. You get the same idea of magic and theatrics, and he still gets all the credit in the public eye and adds to this legendary reputation, But suddenly she's not just this charity project who opens one door for him once. Hell, when he finally comes into the Underthing, there was this great opportunity to show more of her life and present her as a complex, multifaceted character, and how she deals with living in a world that is pushed to the point of living in basically the sewers, and we get nothing. She's just a tool to lead into the archives at that point. And I'm totally not the first person to take issue with this novel's treatment of women, and I'm far from an expert, so I will link some other people's thoughts in the description below. And like I said, I did enjoy this book. I had to take a lot of breaks because my eyes were super dry from all the traveling and lack of proper sleep, and it was so frustrating because I wanted more of the story. I just would have liked to see some complex female characters who weren't sexualized or objectified or anything like that. Not asking much. And apparently there is a TV show being made, so maybe some of the female characters will get further developed for that? Hopefully? We'll see. Anyway, have any of you read this? Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Also, I am always down for book recommendations, so feel free to let me know in the comments below if you have any other books I should read. Stay awesome, y'all. Bye!